Hey guys, it's Phil Esposito here, live and direct from Brooklyn, New York. And look what I have in front of me. I have a box of the 1972 Year in Hockey from In the Game, which you probably know from Between the Pipes, Be a Player, Here Are Some Prospects. This box is actually from 2009. Why 72? Because we are celebrating the Summit Series year between the Canadians and the Russians. Also, 71-72 was one of the best particular years in the hobby. It was Dryden's rookie year and Lafleur's rookie year with these cool white photos with circles on them. Really, really cool. So I thought I would bang this bad boy open. We are guaranteed some autos, so there's some good stuff going on no matter how you slice it and dice it. As you can see right there, we can see our probabilities and our odds. So it should be 9 cards per pack, 18 packs per box, which would amount to 172. And we should get old school cards within here. So basically old name players like the Espositos and the Mahovliches of the galaxy. So let's crackify this box open. Sesame. And so this is what the box looks like. Really, really nice. In the Game always has these sort of low-end, mid-end products. I typically don't pay much for this stuff, sort of in the $30 neighborhood once it's like super on sale. But we are guaranteed some autos and a memorabilia card. And look how nice that design and look is. There also should theoretically be some Russian players in here because of the Summit Series. And some coaches as well. And the look and feel should mimic and duplicate and replicate the old school cards from that era of 71, 72, 72, 73. So here we go. We have Steve Shutt right off the bat, one of the best wingers to ever play the game. Really super nice look, very similar and pretty similar to the 1971-72 season cards. Gilles Villemure, who was a goaltender, who you probably recollect. Vic Hadfield, Jim Lawrence. So the base set would be, I believe, 200 cards. And these are just he shoots, he scores inserts, which are common within some of these ITG products. And here we have a Kharlamov. I'm wondering, is he the guy who died in? No, I don't think it's him. I was trying to figure out whether it was the guy who died in a car crash. One of the Russian players certainly did. I remember Andrei Lacroix, Vasiliev. So definitely have some Russian players, and a lot of just sort of typical players from that era. But we also should hit stars like Stan Mikita, etc. So let's see. There's Dennis Hextall. Ed Giacomine. Ed Giacomine was a star in New York, really lovable, huggable Ed Giacomine. Bill White, Bill Flett with the beard on the Broad Street Bullies. And here we have our first masked man. So this is actually an insert set, and we hit the Jacques Plante. Really, really cool. And that's sort of the mask he had later in his career, certainly with Toronto and so on. Not his earlier mask, of course. Really cool. So that would be the insert set, masked men. And we hit the Plante, which is a nice one. Continuing on. I really love these cards. How cool are they? There's Brad Park with a mustache. So of course he played with the Boston Bruins. He was also in the Summit Series, and he was also with the New York Rangers. And I'm wondering, so this particular card, they basically are flossing about the fact that he was on Team Canada in the Summit Series. But it's part of the checklist up at the top of the checklist. So it could be that you would get a base card of Brad Park with his team, and then you would potentially also get another base card of him with Team Canada. These are really nice. Here's Wayne Cashman, another one of the he shoots, he scores, and you can see these are all from different months. They have a sort of cardboardy feel to them, but they still feel pretty nice. Yeah, I think that Russian player was the one who passed. I think there's something in this, so I'll keep it on the side for now. In a car accident. I mean, a lot of these guys too would be in their mid-70s now too, so some of them a lot of them may have actually passed in celebrating this 70s one. There's Eddie Johnston, who is a character on Cheers, if you recall, the retired Eddie Johnston. Dennis Hall, who is, oh, there's something in here as well, I'll save it. Dennis Hall too would be the, I guess, younger brother of Bobby Hull. He also played on Chicago. They both played on Chicago. And here we have Stan Mikita. A really nice one is Stan Mikita. He played over 1,000 games, probably 1,500 or something. But what's great about Stan Mikita is he had 1,500 points in the NHL, which is a lot of points. And there's Guy Lapointe, one of the big three on the Habs defense. Very smooth skater. And he's still a little active in Quebec. I think he sort of contributes to telethons and so on. And here's another Russian player. I don't know why I'm putting the Russian side. Here's New England. It's interesting. And Gilbert Perreault, also a stud on the Team Canada team. There's Phil Meyer, who played with the Flames. I believe he also played with the Blues. He was out of Val d'Or or something. He's definitely out of Quebec. And he's actually from Sainte-Anne-de-Bellevue, which is just outside of Montreal. And there's Tony Esposito. Little known fact, both Tony and Phil played on Chicago. Phil actually centered Bobby Hull early in his career. But Tony Esposito, of course, was known for Chicago. The other thing, too, about Tony Esposito is he caught with his right hand, not his left hand. There's only 8 goaltenders in the history of the NHL who've won the Vezina Trophy who catch. This is something as well. Do you want to see it? Shall we look at it? I'm nervous to see what this is. Let's see who it is. We'll look at our first auto here because there definitely is an auto in here. Okay, let's see. Yeah, so what I was going to say about Tony Esposito is only 8 players in the history of the game have won the Vezina who can caught with their right hand. And Tony Esposito was one of them. Grand Fuhrer is another, by the way. And actually, I think Cesar Maniago, or maybe it was Ed Giacomini, I can't remember, it's one or the other. Or maybe it's, no, you know who it would have been? It would have been Dennis DeJordy caught with his right hand. It's hard for me to remember all this stuff. Oh, so we have a Jack Eagers auto. That's kind of nice. It's really beautiful. This is an on-card auto. And it looks like a facsimile, but it isn't. Really nice. Really cool. So this would be our first auto. So all of these players would be these old school players. So that's sort of the benefit of it. Continuing on here. So we did get 1 auto. I think we're guaranteed 2. Could potentially get 3. There's Marcel Dionne. It was Marcel Dionne's rookie year in 71, 72. So these cards, if you go online and see these cards from 71, 72, it would have been Marcel Dionne's rookie year along with Guy Lafleur and Ken Dryden. And there's Darryl Sittler. How cool is that? That is a really nice photo of Darryl Sittler. I love it. Gary Bergman, another Team Canada. And there's Guy Lapointe. So this is the second Guy Lapointe card. I think we had the base one with the Canadians. Now we have the one with him on Team Canada. And so all of these would have to be within the checklist of up to 200. All of these here. There are some inserts above and beyond that, and the inserts I think would have lettering, not just numbering, so to speak. There's something in here as well. I think I'll save it. Okay, let's continue on here. We got Michel Plasse. who was a goalie for the Canadians, I believe, in the early 70s for just a stint. One of the sort of lesser-known quantities as Hab goalies. Most Hab goalies are really well known. Another one of these. Oh, we have an insert here. So this would be Game 5 in the Moscow Summit Series. So they played 8 games in the series. In Canada, I think in Game 5 was their first game in Moscow as opposed to in Canada. And they lost to go down heavily in the series. Then they won the last 3 games in Russia, I believe. So this is commemorating that with Tony Esposito between the pipes, who was a bit better than Dryden in that series, actually, but that's one of the inserts, I believe. Oh, no, it's actually not even an insert. It's just at the top of the checklist. Really nice. That's very cool. There's Bobby Clarke, who was probably the first one best known for playing without his teeth and that toothless smile, which Brent Burns has sort of stolen ever since. There's Dennis Hull again, but this time with Team Canada. Yeah, so everybody sort of associates Brent Burns without teeth, but of course Bobby Hull was the first one to provide the infamous gaping grin. There's the Roadrunner from the Habs. There's Denis Herron, who was a goaltender on the Habs, but also a goaltender on Pittsburgh. He had a really well-known mask in the day with sort of these, I would say, V-shaped lines on his mask. And here is Billy Smith. What's interesting, too, is 71-72 was an expansion year, and it was the year that Billy Smith entered the league, I guess, because there were 2 new teams, Atlanta Flames prior to Calgary, and the New York Islanders entered the league in 71-72, I believe. And Billy Smith, of course, was their Stanley Cup winning goaltender. And here we have a Vladislav Tretiak. That's awesome. That's really cool. So it's right at the top of the checklist. Now, Vladislav Tretiak arguably was the best goaltender to ever play the game. I know that's saying a lot, but this is a guy who played 19 times internationally, 19 times internationally, and 15 times won gold medals. And his save percentage in an era, or his goals against average in an era where goals against were above 350, was under 2 in his international play. So Tretiak, I mean, I don't know what to say about Tretiak other than to say that he was arguably, there's Stan Mikita, one of the best goaltenders in the history of the game. So I'm just going to take out a couple of those insert T cards that weren't necessarily inserts. This one I wanted to take out. So I'm just putting a couple of cards aside just for the heck of it. But really, really cool, man. This has been super fun, super duper fun. There's Rogie Vachon, who's best known, of course, for his mask with the LA Kings. Did play on the Habs early in his career before his hair grew long. So that's nice to see. And he, of course, had the 2 little crowns on his mask. And there's Jacques Plante. And this is late in his career when he played with Boston, I guess. It's a photo from late in his career. Very nice. He did have a stint with Toronto and Boston and so on, not solely with the Habs. Put that one aside as well, Gary Unger, Westfall. And there's Bernie Parent, who, of course, won 2 Stanley Cups in the 70s with the Philadelphia Flyers. And here's another one of Vlad Tretiak, and this is him with USSR. Loving it. Really, really fun break. So if you can find boxes like this, I forgot to look up the price, whether I paid $35 or whatever I paid. I'm sure I got it for something half decent. There's Jacques Lemaire, who was also coach. And here's Phil Esposito. So as I said, Phil Esposito started, so he played with Boston. He's best known for Boston, played with the Rangers late in his career, but he also started off with Chicago, centering a line with Bobby Hull. Little known fact. And he's infamous for giving the speech during the Summit Series to sort of get the Canadians going. There's Rick Kehoe, another one of these, he shoots, he scores. And here we have a Game 2. So this would have been a game in Canada. I don't know if that's at the Montreal Forum. It might have been. I'm not sure. Oh no, of course not. It's in Toronto. It says it's in Toronto, so it's in Toronto. You got to trust the card. And there's Frank Mahovlich, who had a glorious career, playing, I guess, mostly with the Habs in Toronto. And Detroit, I guess, as well. He played on Detroit. His brother as well played on Detroit. Pete Mahovlich. Look at this. Dunk Wilson. Look at that photo. Vancouver. Of course, Vancouver did have a team in the early 70s. Oh, there is an insert here. Let's see what it is. And here's another Bobby Clarke, second Bobby Clarke. And it's a great moments insert. So this is the speech. So this is an insert card. It's a small checklist. And the speech, it would happen to be during the 72 series when the Team Canada went down. All of Canada started sort of getting very antsy and talking very negatively about the team. And he gave a speech on television basically telling the country to get behind them. You should YouTube it. It is a classic speech. It's one of the most important times in the history of the game. And Phil Esposito, of course, is one of the best players to ever play the game. And here we have another Game 4. So this would be Game 4, one that Team Canada lost, and that would have been in Vancouver. And there again, you see the same photos, Phil Esposito, and they're not really exactly, they're sort of not exactly inventing the wheel here. Wayne Cashman. Okay, let's see. Continuing on. Really nice. There's Alex Delvecchio, who I believe coached for a hot minute, coached for about 4 years. Had a long career. He started off really, really young face and bushy tail with Detroit, and here he is with gray hair at the end of his career. He probably played 20 years. He played forever, I think. And there's Bill Barber. And here now we have Game 8. So Team Canada obviously won because it was the last game of the series, and we won that series. So I say we because I'm Canadian. Really fascinating break here. A lot going on. No doubt about that. Pitt Martin, Al McDonough. There's Rejean Houle, who was GM of the Habs for a hot minute and was not very good. I think he sort of presided over the infamous Patrick Roy trade. Dave Talon with hair, serious hair. Another one of these. Ted Taylor, Bill White, and Jerry Odrowski. Last couple of packs, I did put a couple of packs aside because I thought I saw some inserts, so we'll see. There's Ken Hodge. Dan Bouchard, who was a goaltender with Atlanta, also with the Quebec Nordiques for many years. Had a pretty decent career. He's pretty synonymous with the original Nordiques. Harry Sinden, who of course you would know as the GM of Boston, I believe, and is also a friend of Gord Downie, who's a Boston Bruins fan, who was a Boston Bruins fan, I should say. I'm just going to see if I can take out a couple of more of those insert-y cards. In other words, the ones at the top of the checklist, the dual cards. If I can find them, or maybe I put them aside. Let's see. I can't really crack these all. Okay, it's fine. Okay, this would be the last pack before the packs I put aside. We've got Syl Apps Jr. as opposed to Syl Apps. And look at this, we have Guy Lafleur with the hair. He's probably known mostly for his years without his helmet and the glowing flower hair. This is really cool. This is a really nice looking card. And of course it was his rookie year in 71-72, and you can find that rookie card I'm sure on eBay, probably affordably if you get an older version of the card and in bad shape, I mean. Jim Schoenfeld, many years in Buffalo. Harry Howell, Man, look at him. This is at the end of his career, I gather. I believe he also played on the Rangers and a bunch of teams, didn't he? Let's see. And here we have Vladimir Petrov, Russian player. And I think that's a Seals, wouldn't that be? Or a Scouts jersey? I think Kansas City was in the league at that point. And there's Paul Henderson. So this, of course, he Summit Series MVP because he got the most famous goal in the history of the game, I gather. And he's right at the top of the checklist, of the 200-card checklist. Okay, well, this is all super fascinating and interesting. So I put a couple of packs aside. Let's see what I have here. Okay, first and foremost, I have this 1972 checklist. So this is exactly like the 71-72 checklist, which is actually one of the more expensive checklists in the game because it's from one of the 71-72 set is one of the most famous sets. So this looks a lot like the famous 71-72 checklist, which the reason why they're valuable is because they're usually all marked up, which is sort of the name of the game. So this is Brad Park's base card as opposed to his Team Canada card. We have Tim Horton, who everybody in Canada knows. There's Butch Goring. This looks a lot like his card from 71-2, back when he was with, I guess, LA, before the Islanders. I do have something behind here, so let's see what it is. It's going to be interesting. There's J.P. Parise. And finally, we have something. It's, okay, it's a jersey card. We have Walt Tkaczuk's jersey card. Nice, really, really nice. Number black. And so you can see it's like it's a patch, actually. This looks like a numbered patch of Walt Tkaczuk. Very nice. And it looks a lot like your typical between the pipes cards. Look at that. Look at the thickness of that card. So that's really nice. A nice little commemorative Walt Tkaczuk. So to go along with our auto. And then I believe I had a couple more things here. I don't know what they would be. Let's see. So here we have this Dennis Hull, Bobby Hull's brother. And then we do have a something or rather there. So let's see what it is. And here we have one of these. And then we have Ted Hampson, Jack Norris, who was a goaltender. And we have another one of these. So this is game 3, and it would be Paul Henderson and Vlad Tretiak. And that was the tie in the series. And we have a Bob Leiter auto. That's really nice. Very cool. Wow, so this is awesome. So we've gotten a second auto, and I believe I had one more thing. Let's see. Let's see what this might have been. Final card. So I got Johnny Bucyk, of course. Johnny Bucyk. Oh, look at this, Pat Quinn. He played with Atlanta, of course. I believe he also played with Vancouver. Most known for his coaching. He never won a Stanley Cup as a coach. He went to the Stanley Cup twice, including coaching. Actually, he coached the Philadelphia Flyers to the Cup Finals in the late 70s, 79, or I think. And of course, he coached Toronto. But he also was the coach of the Team Canada gold medal winning team in 2002, which was their first one in forever. So he's a well-known quality. Unfortunately, he recently passed, I believe in 2014. Here's Richard Brodeur. Look how young Richard Brodeur looks there. There's Pete Mahovlich, Frank's brother, who actually put up 100 points twice in his career. Little known fact. And Dave Keon. We have Dave Keon, and then finally we have another auto. Oh, cool! So we got a Joey Johnston auto. Man, look at all these old school ones. This is so cool. Awesome. Okay, so this is really interesting, and they're sort of like old school players, you know. Let me see if I can sort through the madness now. Okay, guys, time for the recap here. So got a lot of base. So what did I say? I said it was, here, wait, let's get this all put together. What did I say? I said that it was about 162 cards that we should theoretically get. Let's see what we landed here. In terms of base, we got a stack of the base. Awesome cards. Base set runs 200 cards, so we did get maybe 150 of those. And it's cards and it's players from that era, so that's really interesting. You can see that they look a lot like the 1971-72 cards. What else did we get? We did get one of these inserts. We got one of the Masked Men inserts, and we hit the Jacques Plante, which is probably one of the best, if not the best, to hit. So that's very cool. What else did we get? We did get these He Shoots, He Scores cards. Some people collect these, believe it or not, but they're sort of like the blanks. And there are different months, which is a bit unusual, but I guess it is in commemoration of the 1972 year. What else did we get? We did get a couple of these, if not all of these, I'm not entirely certain, the Summit Series games head-to-head, which I believe is at the top of the checklist, these particular cards. So for example, we got the different games from the Summit Series, 5 to, this is actually the Summit Series MVP. We got Vladimir Tkaczuk, who, as I said, played some 19 international times in different series and won the gold medal 15 of those. That's how good he was. But you can see that we also got Paul Henderson and Vlad Tkaczuk. We also got this one too, with Phil Esposito on it. So I guess in each box you probably get all of the 8 games, something to that effect theoretically, because the Summit Series was 8 games. We did get a checklist, and the checklist mimics and rivals and imitates the 1971-72 checklist, which is actually one of the most sought after checklists in the hobby, because it tends to be marked up, so it's hard to get ones that are pristine, so they go for quite a bit, and they probably are actually, theoretically, one of the most expensive cards in the original 71-72 set, along, of course, with the Marcel Dionne, the Guy Lafleur, and the Dryden's, who were rookies back that year. We did get these. These are, I mean, this is just a base card, but just to give you an idea, 71-72 was the expansion year for the New York Islanders and for the Flames. So this would be Billy Smith's card, who of course ended up being the goaltender of your Islanders. So that's just a base card, but just to give you an idea. Of course, we did get Russian cards within the base cards, as you can tell. This is Vlad Tkaczuk, who arguably is one of the best goaltenders, not the best goaltender to ever play the game. And certainly we got ones like this Jacques Plante when he was with Boston. He, of course, played with Toronto, Boston, I think he also even played with the Blues at the end of his career. Another one of these Summit MVPs of Paul Henderson. And then in terms of inserts and so on, we did get some autos, which is really cool. We didn't get necessarily super well-known players, but we did get players from that particular era. So let's go through them if we can. So first we have this one, which is Joey Johnston. Joey Johnston was, I think he was born in Peterborough, but Joey Johnston played with the Stars, played with the Golden Seals, the California Golden Seals. I think he also played for the Blackhawks, and he ran, I think he played for about 10 years in the 60s and 70s, if I recall correctly, and he was actually a top draft pick at the time. I got this one of Bob Leiter. I think Bob Leiter played with Boston and Pittsburgh, and I think he also probably was on the expansion Atlanta Flames at the time, if not later, but this is an older picture of him, Bob Leiter, as you can see. But that's kind of cool, and these are typical between the pipes looking autos. Finally, we did get this Jack Eagers. Jack Eagers actually had a pretty decent career, a decent career. He played mostly, I think, between 65 and mid-70s around. Played with the Rangers and the Blues. I think he also played for the Caps. So he's pretty old school, but it's kind of cool to get these old school cards. Finally, we did get one of these things. So this is kind of cool. So we got this number black. I'm not sure what the print run is of these. Might be 100. Usually the print runs for these things are limited. I haven't looked it up. But you probably would know Walt Tkaczuk because he had a significant career with the Rangers. He didn't play 1,000 games. He almost played 1,000 games, but he put up a good 700 points in the NHL. And another 600 penalty minutes, or something 550 or so on penalty minutes. So he was a real beast with the Rangers for many, many years. I think he only played with the Rangers for all of his career, but he was definitely a known quantity back in the day. So that's basically it, guys. Just to give you an idea, I'm such a big proponent of between the pipes, be a player in the game products. As you can see, for example, in the background, I have this card here of Ben Bishop, which is the type. These are the types of autos you get within in the game. You also could get, for example, autos like these, and you can get them fairly cheaply online. And so these are probably all from Between the Pipes, which is another one of the in the game products. I'm a really, really big fan of in the game products just because you can get a bunch of low end autos. You can land some really nice patches and so on. And the 72 one, I got 3 autographs. I did not necessarily get a Bobby Hull or something to that effect, but if you buy a box, I'm sure you will. So I completely, wholeheartedly always love these old school products. I happen to be Fulton Cards, live and direct from a place called Brooklyn, New York. Please subscribe for more of these old school breaks.